thank you, Judith, for the introduction. Thank you all the organizers and all the patronizers. And it's an honor to be here, and it's also difficult for me. I am an artist, and so this public mathematicians is somehow threatening when you talk and try to make connections between art and mathematics. So the title of my talk, Polluted Infinities, is not related to something negative. That means I'm not talking about polluted landscapes, I'm not talking about something in a bad way, polluted, but more connected to pollinated infinities. That means enriched infinities, mixed infinities, and this is based on my work mainly, which I'm going to show you during the talk. There are two connections or two paths that I'm going to follow that you will find connections from beginning to the end. One is from contemplation to experimentation. That's why I have this here, that is a Möbius strip that was colored by Catherine. And maybe mathematicians can tell us a little bit more what happens when you cut a Möbius strip in two, and why it gets the double length of the first cut, and why it is divided in two when you make the next cut. So we will see at the end what we can do with that. So the first approach that I had to infinity was something ideal, something archetypical. And this was a title I wanted to choose for my talk. I want to be able to do, but I can't. I'm weak. And this is a title that comes from the back part of this truck. This is a truck driving in Peru, going to Chiapas. It's a very small town in the Andean mountains. As you can see, we are kind of high. You have snow, and this is close to the equator, so of course you have to be very high to get snow. And it captures the main subject that I am going to address is how infinity is something ideal, but we are here and we are talking about infinity, and we are finite, and we are going to die, and we are made of flesh that is going to be destroyed, and so there is this duality inherited that belongs to infinity. So the road that I'm going to take in my talk is I am going to show you some of my works. I am going to make a reference to some artists who have worked making allusions to infinity or representations or represented infinite objects. I'm going to talk about pure sensibility and action and freedom. The connection is going to be, or we are going to travel from the object, the necessity of the object, to the necessity of the body, or the disappearance of the object in the art work. So, talking with mathematicians, I noticed that infinity is something that comes from the ideal world. It's something that happens in your ideas, it's something that happens in your mind, and one of the simple explanations I understand is the sequence of the numbers that you have 1, 2, 3, 4 ellipses. That's the word, ellipses, yes. In Spanish, it's suspensive dots that actually I think are very meaningful because they have the suspense, what happens after that. And that's something that I think is beautiful as openness to what is happening after what you are talking or what you are defining. So I have two statements. The first one, infinity is related to our finite condition, or in my case, I'm talking about myself. I think that Pascal, who was already mentioned here, referred to this condition when he said, we burn from the side of founding a firm basis and a thus constant base for building a tower that rises to infinity. But all are fronted crack, and the earth opens up to the eyes. Whatever we try to construct with our ideals, they in some way gets rotten by itself. The second statement is art always needs objects or negation of the objects to communicate the idea of the infinite. And the connection definitely is made by our body that perceives, and there is a connection between infinity and infinity that are related, and that we can see in the Möbius strip. This duality actually was mentioned by St. Augustine when he refused, or he was not, he thought that man should not go outside himself. Man should not be looking at nature because nature was something that was that distracted him. It was too beautiful. It was something that was giving him or bringing him away of his transcendental ideas. So St. Augustine said, "And men go forth and admire lofty mountains and broad seas and roaring torrents and the ocean and the course of the stars, and forget their own selves while doing so." And this is a portion that is very mentioned in many places when we speak about how landscape was born in art, in the arts, how it was impossible to connect, or it was for the artist was, or actually not for the artist, but for creators or writers, it was something that was always like a duality, either to go outside and to look, or but if you are looking outside, then what's happening is that if you are getting in a way distracted from God in this case, or from real ideas. I don't think there is a better way of talking about the necessity of the object than Rodin's hand, God's hand, that is here at the Rodin Museum. What we see is a piece of marble and a hand, and the hand has a figure that you cannot completely distinguish because the figure is fused in a piece of, again, of pure marble. When you look at the hand, in a way, the hand seems to be representing also Rodin's hand. It's a hand that is creating a hand that is creating a hand. And it's a form that is getting shape in the time when, or this potentiality that is getting formed in the construction itself. So this is a detail of the marble that was polished and the pure marble. So, and in the case of Rodin, at least we can say that infinity is connected to potency and openness, but there is also a contradiction between becoming and being, and this is what he works, or what he's interested in when he talks about movement and when he talks about the sculpture itself. And there is a transition from one state to another, from one way of being to another. Infinity, in that sense, is strongly related to freedom. Okay, so I talk about my work, and I talk about my condition of being finite. This is a series of photographs that I made in the Rodin Museum. It is inspired by Keith Arnaud's photographs. And the question is, what happens when you die? It's what happens when you are not there. And with photography, that's very easy to do, because you can make a photograph and then you raise yourself and then you're not there anymore. And that's just the way it is. So, of course, there is connection to nature. The way I do my work is I walk, I collect stones, I paint, I make interventions on the landscape, I make videos. And I am going to show you some of the videos, because the idea of infinity, let's say if mathematicians can say that infinity has been a problem during the last century, I don't think it has been directly the case for the arts. But it has been, as we can see, as we have seen with Carmen Re, and as you can see with the presentations, of course, something that has been underlying the artwork. So, what does it mean going to a place and trying to make a work in the place? Well, you have to be connected with the place. You have to see what you can do in that place. So this is a photograph that Andres took me I'm going to show you in a line that I draw walking in Wales. And as I was saying, then this condition of infinity for me, I perceive it through time and space. A space that continues, as in it's not only the shape of the world that is round and that you can see, you can feel. No, it's something that goes even farther than that. And for that, I have a philosopher that I want to quote that makes responses to Kant's idea of the aesthetic of purity. So Mathieu Kessler says, aesthetics of, according to him, the aesthetics of impurity. There is a difference between the landscape represented and the real landscape that demands an aesthetic of impurity, where all senses are involved. And I think that's pretty much what happens with the art work. You need to have in contact, you need to get in contact with something, and that something can be some object that doesn't exist anymore. So the Kessler questions Kant aesthetic experience that rejects the existence of the real object as its representation should mean something for the understanding and the imagination of the spectator abstracted from his own body. So this emphasis, of course, is given in the real experience. That is what happens, and of course, not all landscapes are the same. Every landscape has a different history. Every landscape has different textures, different difficulties. Of course, some are dangerous, some have political conditions, blah blah blah. So it really means something for the artist when he goes to a place and tries to make a connection to the place. This is in Peru, Yamanuco. It's a valley that was formed by glaciers. You can see it by the V shape. And this is walking down from Chimborazo. Chimborazo was a symbolic mountain for a long time for South America. It was considered to be the highest mountain when Humboldt went to South America. So going down from Chimborazo means also walking in a place that means a lot about the identity of the place. Of course, you can see or you can imagine all the particular conditions of what it means, the cold or the stones or all the feelings that you can experience in that place. This is again in Wales, in the Atlantic, North Atlantic, that is in the far expanding to the horizon. And this is the line that I was drawing in the picture before. So I made this work visiting England, and by chance it was the time of the Brexit election. And the question was how much or how can you trace a border on landscape? How can you really have a line dividing on landscape? How that's so abstract and so human and so imposing in a place. These are details. It's charcoal, so it didn't make any, didn't have any effect on the place. Okay. The other question is then about time. So I wrote 3 videos, short videos, where time is captured. So the first one is the tree that I made in 2008 in Finland, and what I did was I took continuous photographs during 1 year, and my question was, how can you capture time? How can you really show the passing of time, which is infinite that you don't see? Because if you look, of course, time is passing, but it's nothing that you can really represent. So I made a mark very subtly. There was no damage on the birch tree, on the tree, and I came every day and took photographs of the same tree, and then afterwards I edited the video. So it's time that is just running. This time I see is like water that is falling from your fingers that you try to capture, but you cannot take it, and it just goes away and goes away every second. There is no night, of course. Okay, the second video is called The Drawer. It's made also in 2015, that was the last time I edited, and I am going to stop it because what you are going to see is the drawer of a kitchen where nothing happens. So the only thing that happens is that objects move all the time, and that's the way, or what I wanted to capture is how these objects show the passing of your continuous time again, but there is no event. There is nothing eventful. There is not like someone is dying or someone is getting married or there is no the Catalonian independence or nothing is happening here. It's just your life as a second and second passing in a way that you don't notice again. Of course, you could say that is a very feminine work, but I don't think so. There are many men who have the same experience of having objects in their kitchen, organized and disorganized, and we continue doing the same things with the same objects all the time. Okay, and the last video is called Walking Between Two Trees. And I made it in Finland. A year ago. And it's between two trees. And the idea of the video was to make something useless, like many useless things that we do in our lives. Like you have to go to the bank and then you have to wait in a line, or you lose your time trying to do, many things. You drive or you are in a car and you have to do many repetitive things in your life and you are doing useless things. So it's like infinity in a way can also become a nightmare. The movie by Chaplin, of course, captures some of that in modern times when there is a repetition and repetition and repetition. Of course, infinity is not, it may be connected to something that leads you to freedom, but also to a nightmare. And I'm going to stop it, otherwise we don't have time to finish. So, okay, so in that sense, infinity is related to extension of space, like impossible limits. For me, it's connected to history through nature. You can hear all sounds, you can perceive all shapes or all movements. For example, the movements of the earth, the movements of the sun. That, of course, have been there for is compared to our existence for infinity time. So the passing of time that can be eventful and monotonous, and there is a contradiction, as I say, infinity is strongly related to finite. So let me mention some artists who have worked with infinity. One of them, of course, is Piero Manzoni, when he made this line with infinite length. According to Piero Manzoni, this is his idea: the nature of time is eternal and infinite. The concept is everything. I insert the line in a tube so that people can buy the idea of the line. I sell an idea packed in a closed container. That work, of course, is completely related to the one that we have here in the wall about the Earth, the exhibition of Earth. I don't know if you had the chance to read the descriptions. It's a conceptual work. Of course, Caspar David Friedrich, when he was painting the infinite in the sea, in the monk by the sea, this monk that is facing a huge sky and the sea that expands to the horizon, and the same that he with the wanderer above the sea of fog, this walker who is at the last possible place where he can stand in the rocks. Or the contradictory painting where we have death represented through the shipwreck that is being eaten by nature, and of course, in his case, the horizon that it extends. According to Edmund Burke, in his philosophical inquiry into the origin of our ideas of the sublime and the beautiful, infinity, he said, has a tendency to fill the mind with that sort of delightful horror, which is the most genuine effect and true excess of the sublime. There are scarcely any things which can become the objects of our senses, but that are really, in their own nature, infinite. But the eye not being able to perceive the sounds of many things, they seem to be infinite, and they produce the same effects as if they were really so. So, there are four more ideas. The infinite is something that is not present for the artist, and there is a contradiction between seeing and not being able to see. And of course, there is this transition and the contemplation that the artist wants us to make when we look at the painting, and we, in a way, occupy the space of the monk. So infinity is strongly related to transcendence. Two works from Colombian artist Mariaclara Final. This is a dock, the main dock in the Caribbean port where most immigrants came. It was built in 1888. And what she captures is the actual dock completely rotting. So there is another element that starts coming out in this relation to infinity, and it's the ruin and the passing of time. If I want to talk about an empty painting to the action, and this is the last part of my talk, it's impossible not to mention Velázquez and the empty painting of Las Meninas. Of course, this seems to be a contradiction. This is Baroque, and the idea is to relate to this painting that we actually don't see. That could be the painting of the same painting. That means that Velázquez is in front of a mirror and he's painting the painting that is being painted. Or he's painting the king and the queen who are reflected in the mirror. But that cannot be because the king and the queen will not allow themselves to be represented in this blurry and non-reminded way. So actually, Velázquez's painting is a connection of us with the painting. That means this is an infinite painting. Every time that we look at the painting, Velázquez gave us the possibility of being painted by himself. So we are being painted here. And again, about the empty picture, the empty painting, the black square of Casimir Malevich, where he said the black square is pure sensibility, while the white round is the nothing, but is outside the sensibility. And the same with the suprematist composition, the white on white from 1918. Far from representing real objects, suprematism focuses on representing the sensibility made into shape. Pure sensibility is related to potentiality, to ideas, to archetypes. In the painting of Rauschenberg, this erased the coin drawing, he again proposes us to give a meaning to this. The story of the painting, or the story of the work, is that Rauschenberg went to the coin and asked him to give him a drawing, and then he erased it. So he exposes us to give a meaning to this drawing that existed before, and we are supposed to complete in a way. And if Klein, when he made the exhibition of the void, again, was facing us with something empty, with something that was not existent, and it's the same what happens with the blue monochrome that is inspired by the blue of the sky. And the idea that when we look at the paint, when we look at the monochrome, we are in a way being having the experience of the infinite. What Klein said is Malevich was actually standing before the infinite. I am in it. You don't represent or reproduce it. You are it. And the last part, do I have 10 minutes? Yes? Okay. The last part of my talk, I am going to talk about the necessity of the body. And I am going to make a connection between Lydia Clark, who was an abstract artist, and the disappearance of the object. So Lydia Clark started doing abstract compositions, very related to the constructivist artists from Russia. She went on and broke the painting. She decided to paint spaces, and what she wanted to do was the spectator to go inside the space and leave the line and the colors and the composition itself. And after that, she broke actually the artwork. It became three-dimensional, but not only three-dimensional, but also she made these objects that the spectator could manipulate, folding and unfolding. That's where the bags come from, the pocket bag and this bag. They are made in metal and in cardboard, and you could manipulate them, you cannot touch them anymore. And the real cut in her work was this called Caminando. It's a piece that starts from a Mebius strip, which is here. What it does is that it takes the abstraction from the object to the abstraction of the body, the abstraction from the painting or the abstraction of the contemplation to the abstraction of actually doing and living the possibility of doing, living something while you are cutting the paper, while you are interacting with the paper. So I am going to close with a hand dialogue, and as I am, I like polluted infinitives, I brought the band, the strip, so we can have the band, and at the end I will, the dialogue, and then I will close.
No, you have to. You have to talk. There's no way of talking. No, don't be scared. So what you do is you have to wear it like this, and the other person wears it like this. Yes? As a magistrate, don't put it like a simple that.
Mariaclara, so you know what to do?
So you fold it, and you are not supposed to talk with your mouth. You are supposed to talk with your hands. Just turn around and talk to somebody else.
Okay, did everybody was able to talk? Yes. Talk. Conscious of what we're saying. You cannot just say blah blah blah, you have to be conscious of what we're saying. It may be very provoking. Okay, you want to share something or I continue? I continue because I want to finish. So after this experiment or after this work, Lydia Clark continued getting closer to psychology, and she actually broke the boundary of art, getting into psychology. So the change goes from the limit of the abstract space to the limit of the body. And that's something mentioned here all the time. The limit of the geometry and the limit, the psychological limit. How can you go from geography to the real space? How can you make a map of something that exists? So that we just did seems to be something very simple, and but as you know, it's very complicated. What she says is what is important is for the work not to count on itself as an object that I can buy, that is very expensive, blah, 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 but a simple springboard for the freedom of the spectator, that is the author. What is the effect of these works on us? They question the way we relate to others, as you have noticed. They bring to the limit the image we have of ourselves and also the boundaries of our own body. They face us with our own limits. How far can I go? What I'm capable of doing? And finally, there is a political dimension, because artistic practice is considered as a form of resistance, opening the infinite possibilities of the body. That is the main instrument in the conception of life, of as an artwork. So as you can see, it dies, and the idea of the Meus I thought was important for the occasion. Thank you.